Hello and welcome back to another episode of What You Missed News, the video game news show that recaps what happened this week in video game news that's important to the video game industry and possibly to you, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I have a few things to mention before we get into the news that are kind of important to YouTube, this show, and how you're going to actually be able to see these videos, believe it or not. So what ended up happening is that YouTube has changed their Subbox sorting feature by default to highlights instead of the most recent. So yeah, not really good. What you have to do is under your Subbox settings, you have to go to highlights for you and put most recent instead of highlights for you. Basically, it's sorting your subscriptions by what you watch most recommended. So let's say you have a YouTuber you only watch for once a month, okay? YouTube's gonna say you don't watch this YouTuber anymore, so we're gonna put it at the bottom of the list for recommendations, but they only upload once a month. And then what ends up happening is you never see them again, even though you're subscribed to them because you're subscribed to so many other channels. So remember to check that most recent. This was tweeted out by Sandy Crystal Ball at CutePlay, so full credit for the tweet there. And I think it's very important and interesting that they did tweet that out and let everyone know. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have a few things coming up also. I have a deal with GOG Good Old Games to where I'm going to be an affiliate for them. I'm also a Twitch affiliate as well, so I have been streaming the Halo Master Chief Collection, starting off with Halo CE, and if you guys are interested in seeing those, you can check those out at 8:30 Eastern Time PM at night over on channel Protomario on Twitch.tv. I know that's a lot, ladies and gentlemen, but there you go. Firstly, I want to say that Super Mario Odyssey's producer has settled the debate over Toad's head. Is it a hat or a part of his anatomy? And what they said is that it is indeed part of them. It's not a hat. And the reason they said this is that, yeah, while the show, the Super Mario Bros. 3 show, is non-canon, okay? So they're going to leave it at that and let you figure out exactly how it works, even though they've seen that, you know, Toad can take off his hat. And I even tweeted it out because Polygon had this article cited saying that Nintendo confirms that Toad is not wearing a hat and it's his head. And then there's an episode of Super Mario Bros. 3 where he had his hat off. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Is it part of his head? Is it a hat? Well, they've confirmed that it's not part of a hat or anything, and instead is his head. I suppose it would just be a mushroom. A sentient mushroom, ladies and gentlemen. That's much better than an individual wearing a hat. Alright, continuing down the Nintendo news, we have Super Mario Odyssey's designer adding extra coins out of respect for their testers. So what ended up happening here is that they went on to talk about how over the development there were moments where the development team, the debugging team, the individuals testing the game would get into areas that they were unexpecting them to be able to reach, and in respect for their achievements for doing so, they decided to put coins there. So the areas that you can get in on top of skyscrapers, in areas that you think you really wouldn't be able to reach, but you somehow can reach, and if they have coins in them, that's the reason, ladies and gentlemen. It's a nod, it's a bit of respect for the testers. Nintendo has built a GameCube emulator, the GCN Virtual Console on Switch ? Over on Switch Force, they covered this, ladies and gentlemen, breaking development through looking at the executable streams. It was discovered that TP on the Chinese shield is actually emulated after all. So Nintendo has a working GC emulator for the Switch that performs very well. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Because what ends up being the case is that the NVIDIA Shield is very, very similar to the Nintendo Switch, and so I guess what they're saying is that if it can run on the Shield, it likely can run on the Switch. But let's be real, ladies and gentlemen. Nintendo owns the GameCube. Nintendo made the GameCube. They have the software, they have the emulation, they have the hardware. They own all of this stuff. They can make it all work together if they want to. This isn't really a shock or a surprise to me. And if you think about it too, if they can get the Wii working on the Switch, though there is no disk drive, but if they can get the Wii working on the Switch, they obviously would be able to get the GameCube working, because again, the architecture and the backwards compatibility with the hardware and the software and everything that they have working together. It's like one giant puzzle that they just decide not to put the pieces into until they're ready. That's how I look at it, at least. Subnautica Dev Fired over hateful statements. Yep, it's one of these stories. Now, I agree with this story because when you're in a position of power, you can't be tweeting out your opinions in certain ways. Like, yes, I understand you have freedom of speech. I'm not that ignorant. I'm saying that when you're in such a massive position of power, when you say certain things, problems are going to arise because you're going to have people on one side who don't agree with you. You're going to have officials who don't want to hear it from the people that don't agree with you. And they're just trying to prevent individuals from creating conflict. So there were several tweets that were recovered from this individual that was a developer. That would be Charlie Cleveland, I believe. His Twitter handle was Charlie Subnautica Cleveland. And the tweets were talking about immigration claims. The tweets were mocking polls on YouTube about gender diversity, transgender, things like that. Not really good. One tweet was, would you prefer if we added an option to play as a woman in @Subnautica or improve the core game? And they gave the option to play as a woman or improve the core game, and most people chose improve the core game. But that is an interesting question. It's like, you could have said yes or no, and, you know, posed it, would you like to play as a woman, yes or no? And I'm quite sure a lot of people would have said, yeah, sure, that's fine, I don't care. You know, it's the same way with Pokemon, it's the same way with any game for me. I don't care if you play as a woman or a man, it doesn't matter. So he ended up getting fired for a lot of these tweets, a lot of the things that he said, and allegedly, you know, I mean, I don't think it's going to be taken to court, because if he did say these things, he would obviously lose in court. But if he did decide to take it to court, he might be able to appeal that it is his freedom of speech to say these things. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, that came out. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has banned over 1 million cheaters last month, and this rolls into the next story, which is PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds' latest patch is going to stop cheaters before they start playing. Now, this is a software reader that looks through what is installed on your system and looks to see if it's going to interact with PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds in some way, shape, or form. And it prevents you from starting the game if you do have software that is third-party that interacts with PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. So, in essence, it prevents cheaters from being able to cheat. And according to the post, you will not be banned for having something known as reshade on your system, but you will have to uninstall it, unfortunately, and potentially reinstall PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds as well. So, exterior modifications, quite a lot of them will likely not be working with this patch and causing a lot of issues and problems. Do I agree with this? I don't know, man. There's a lot of cheaters on games, on online games, to where you can earn a lot of money, you can earn loot boxes, things like that. We already know that PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds has items in it that sell for 20 to 30 grand despite being worth it or not. So I think it's good that they're trying to crack down on cheaters. I think it's really silly that they have software reading stuff to see if you're using third-party applications, but there you go, ladies and gentlemen. To continue on with PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds news, Twitch crashes upon Dr.Disrespect's return to the platform. So you guys know Dr.Disrespect, he took a hiatus from Twitch after admitting he had cheated on his wife, and he came back, and when he came back, Twitch crashed because of how many fans were funneling into his Twitch to watch him for the first time. This is likely just an influx of people waiting to see him return, and not the basis of how many people will continuously watch him. Twitch is looking to kind of fix this issue with the servers and how many people are watching at one point in time, but I'm sure it will level itself off to a level at which can be sustained and won't be crashing for Dr.Disrespect. And finally, after years of player warfare, Metal Gear Solid V Secret Ending has been triggered prematurely, unfortunately. Now, this is a weird thing. What ended up happening is that there's a secret ending that happens in Metal Gear Solid V if all the players are able to disarm all the nuclear weapons in the game. You guys know that Metal Gear Solid revolves around nuclear warfare and total world domination of warfare and types of war and battles and things like that. And this is where Metal Gear Solid 5 is centered around. And what ended up happening is that the nuclear disarmament event was triggered in the Steam version of Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, February 2nd, approximately 12 o'clock GMT. And that was said, and they were investigating, but they can confirm that it was triggered without a nuke count that had reached 0. So there were nukes out there and everything wasn't disarmed. A lot of players are very upset with this and have speculated that this is just happening to drum up hype for the upcoming Metal Gear Survive. They are very upset, and the thing is that the Disarmament Act has been triggered with 7,000 nukes in the server alone still. Now, what ended up happening is that others speculate that the cutscene triggered due to an overflow error in the game's code. And the cutscene triggered because of the total of nukes that were in the game, which was a lot, man. Like, it's a big number, alright. The number was so large that players believed that it increased into the negative, which caused the game to think that there are no more nukes present. And that does happen a lot of time in games. If you go way above the max, it will roll over to 0 instead. It even happens in Pokemon. If you go above a certain level in Pokemon, it will roll back over to 0. So, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Strangely enough, the Xbox version only has 331 nukes left on the Xbox One, so you might see the legit cutscene soon on the Xbox One version. But as for the PC version, yeah, that unfortunately did happen, and a lot of people are very, very upset at it. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, that's this episode of What You Missed News. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, leave me a big like. If you didn't, leave me a dislike and some constructive criticism down in the section below. And yeah, I guess that's all there is to say. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm off to drink some more coffee and edit up this video. I hope you guys have a great day, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.